All right, guys, welcome to whatever week number we're on, but chapters 7 through 9. Next week we meet Jim, so don't forget that. But I'm going to open us up in a quick prayer and then we'll hop into going over the questions for this week's reading. God, we are so thankful for who you are and what you've done for us. Um, I pray that you be with us today as we go into these questions and these chapters that Jim has written for us. Lord, help us as we structure our environments and our volunteers and help us communicate well. Be with us now, God, in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. So let's dive into chapter 7. Another long chapter for Jim, but a good one. Um, so what stood out to you before we jump into a question about it? What'd you highlight? What'd you like? Let's hear from you.
Is the goal to have more words highlighted or less words highlighted? Because I'm not sure which is working for me.
I just have the whole thing highlighted.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I've got this system where I'm like, okay, blue, um, it's like blue, red, or blue, pink, or yellow. Yellow is like, yeah, that's really, really important. Pink is like, yeah, next important. Blue is like third important, and it's just so much of the book is highlighted for me. The the basically three-quarters of the chapter on of chapter 7 is highlighted for me. So I'm like, oh my gosh, it's because it's just like a manual. There's just so many things in there. It's like all these things to consider and the steps and everything. So really super useful for me.
I like on 92 how he reminds us of the rule of 12. He's talked about that before, but going back to the rule of 12. Begin by determining no more than 12 ways to divide up your ministry.
I was just going to say the same thing. I like that thing of 12. Like that's manageable.
And on 93, this was a hard one for me to even try to figure this out because I don't do this well. I do not manage people that I pay or don't pay any differently because I coddle those that I don't pay, I think.
Yeah, I always feel bad asking them to do something, like
Yeah,
to do more.
yeah,
Like I'll just say no for them.
right. Or I feel like I'm working for them. Like you come in and do this job and you let me know anything you need me to do, right? And so then there's that much more on my plate because I feel like I need to, yeah, hand that over because I feel bad.
I feel bad to ask them to do the horrible jobs, like the, you know, photostating and cutting out circles or whatever. But actually, that's what they're there for, so that I can carry on with whatever I have to do. So, yeah, it is hard, eh? Wonder if guys have the same kind of problem, like men. I wonder if men find it easier to give instructions and, yeah, just leave it at that.
I don't know.
I think the idea of a checklist is something that I need to implement, because I know I know in my head how I want it done, and I sometimes assume that, of course, my way is logical and the only way to do it. So I assume that somebody else is going to do it in the same way. And actually, a checklist is, I think that would be make it much easier for me and make it much easier for the person that I've given the task to.
Yeah,
And
he
also,
says in another chapter, like, does that make sense to only you or other people too?
hmm.
So is that one of your systems that you have in place to help volunteers succeed, Lynette? Is that are you a checklist person?
No, I'm not.
Oh,
But I liked what he said about giving them a checklist because I think it would be better. And between the checklist and your job descriptions, Jody, I think if you can give people a job description and then give them a checklist of whether it's, what they have to make sure is in their classroom or the steps that they have to follow if a new child comes or whatever, if they actually have it in writing, I think it's going to be easier for everyone.
One of the things like systems like I have to help volunteers succeed, or at least like what I used to do, I haven't been consistent with it. Like with the Go curriculum, they used to have really good training volunteer videos that were 2 minutes long that I would share weekly in our group. And I loved it because they were only 2 minutes long. And they would be videos on how to run your small group effectively, how to run large group effectively, how to what language to use, like for today's kids, and I mean they had like I don't know, 20 something videos and like I would just, one a week would be good enough for everyone to do and then revisit, in 20 weeks later. Um, and then like we have our annual volunteer uh meeting I have in like February that usually revisits all of our policies, procedures, that's one of our biggest things that I feel like keeps my volunteers to help them succeed. Um, but I feel like I could do better for sure. Um, with like a checklist or like, I've got like these things in our classrooms I haven't updated in a long time. So like there's some things I could just definitely keep better up to date or change. As I've been reading this book, I feel like I'm definitely in maintenance mode and I don't like it. I feel like I've just been plateauing and coasting and I don't like it. I'm all about change and whatnot. But after reading this book, I definitely want to get out of maintenance mode and I want to get into growth mode. And I feel like making these changes, like he suggests, will definitely help with that. Anyone else do something different or more um, that helps their volunteer succeed? A system, I guess I should say. Or what's your onboarding process for your new volunteers?
If people say they're interested, I invite or I ask them to spend 3 weeks with us, and they can go to whichever age group they want each Sunday, and then sort of determine which age group they'd like to be involved in. And then once they say that they want to be involved, then I meet with them and I give them all the forms to fill in and go through the policies and procedures and spend more time with them. And then they will be allocated to the class that they want to be in as an assistant um, and sort of shadow. And then there's a 3 months probation. And after that, during that time, I'll meet with whoever they are working with and get feedback. And after that, then we'll sit again and decide whether they want to be part of the team or not, and whether I want them to be part of the team or not. So, oh, it was so awkward. A couple of months ago, I had to phone this couple and say, actually, you can't be part of the team because you never on time, you're not coming to the prayer meetings before the time, and you drop us at the last minute. So that was really hard, but I couldn't let them be part of the team because that would have been setting myself up for a lot of headaches in the future.
Good for you though for standing strong because that's hard.
I also liked what he said about if you have a good preschool teacher, instead of taking them out the class and putting them into management, leave them in the class and find somebody else to manage.
I think people are so surprised when I say you can be part of our children's ministry and never be with kids. Like we need you. And they're like, what do you mean? Like they don't realize how many other spots there are to serve that aren't necessarily with kids. Like you're saying, you like find a project manager person, that just works with your teachers. Maybe you find somebody that's great at trainings that you can hand off your training manual to, you know. But I have so many people like, oh, I don't want to work with kids. I'm like, I've got a spot for you, you know.
Yeah, I think I had never thought about that concept either. And especially when in the book Jim said, oh, you don't have to join children's ministry, but every time I need money, you just have to give it to me. And I was like, I've never, that's so brazen to me. I would never just would not have crossed my mind to even consider being so upfront like that.
Does anyone have those monthly volunteer meetings with their like few core volunteer people or maybe quarterly or anything like that?
I've tried the monthly. It's hard. I do a lot of one-on-one, a lot of in the hallway, a lot of 10 minutes here kind of thing.
Yeah.
To truly have a sit down, planned out hourly, whatever meeting is difficult for people to commit to.
Yeah.
I had one yesterday that I'm like, okay, can we sit down and do quarterly? Like, can we make quarterly meetings?
Yeah.
Um,
I used to be really good. My team was like, and my team's still amazing. We used to be really good about every month, and then it got more challenging as we had a real young girl. She became a teacher, and then she started a master's program, and like master's program's a lot of work, and so we went to like every other month, and like again, this is the side of me that's like, well, it's really hard to ask people to do more. And I had one of my leaders, I mean, every leader's awesome. They all have their own life stuff going on, she's busy with all of her kids, but they never complain to me about it. Like it's just again more me. Or they cancel so often, or this doesn't work for me, they all couldn't come the same night. So I always felt bad in always asking for more. Um, or I always felt like, okay, well, if I continue to hold this meeting and only two of my four could show, the others two are always out of the loop, or it's always, additional scheduling. So, it is kind of hard to juggle with that. And I can't remember who was asking earlier if men struggle differently. I don't know if that was you, Lynette. But I wonder, like if guys are just kind of like, whatever, and we had that more emotional tie to it than they do. Not saying that, men aren't emotionally tied, but we just have a different, we're just,
Yeah, they're more fact, whereas we more, yeah.
mhm.
I have any of you tried doing online meetings? Because I know, like, part of my problem is that a lot of people in my team are really busy in their jobs, and life is just really busy, or they're busy with their children or whatever. I know when we were planning our 24-hour camp, we just could not find time to meet, and so we did it online, and we did it at like after the couple with young children, after their children were in bed, so the children weren't a bother, and it actually worked so well. So that's, I don't often think of online, but actually, um, after COVID, I mean, we're all fine online. So, yeah, it's another avenue that we could actually do. It's better in person, but if you can't in person, then yeah, it can work online.
that's what I moved to after, like, we all just kept getting our meetings canceled or not met at all. And
Mm.
it's better. Like we just do Zoom calls like
Yeah,
this for about 45 minutes. And it's good. I just love meeting face to face, but you know,
yeah.
it works. Well, I didn't realize the time. Let's move on to chapter 8. Sorry, guys. Chapter 8 was all about evaluating or structuring your facilities for growth. Um, so let's talk about that. Um, what did you highlight here? What stuck out to you? Um, no, I feel like I highlighted something here.
We're in a situation in our church where we've used like all the space. We actually, from July, we're going to two services because we're bursting at the seams. Um, but at the moment, we won't have children's church in the first service because the first service is like 8 to 9:30 in the morning on Sunday morning. So we're not going to offer children's church at the moment. And the idea is that the people that are at the church, at that service, sort of become the volunteers for the service. So not sure exactly how it's going to work yet, but yeah, over the years I have I get so fed up because I'll like reclaim rooms, you know. So there was this room, this outside room that nobody was interested in, was full of junk, like absolute junk. And I went in there and cleaned the place up and got everything fixed up. And then it's like, oh, this is a venue that everybody can use. But it's like, no, it's my venue. So, oops, that's very selfish. But yeah, so that's happened quite a few times over the years where I've reclaimed space and then it's just become like general church space. But there's no more space to reclaim.
Right.
Our midweek service, connect, we call it connection night, is so overflown, like over
Run.
yeah, that and I laughed as he was suggesting, storage rooms and closet spaces. We literally do that on Wednesday nights. Like they use my closet space. Like I move out, like our youth group uses my closet space. Like I move out my table on wheels. I usually move like props and stuff into my office, but then they're also starting to use my office space. So, because my office space and the storage room are right next to each other. So then I'll move those props into the electrical closet. So like, we have so much, and then we have a business that we share a wall with, and we have a really good relationship with them, even to the point where we went over there and asked them if we could buy their building. And they laughed at us and said, we actually want to buy yours. So like, and so it just, didn't happen. But like they're letting us use their building space for free. They're wonderful, wonderful business. And like we use their like a conference room, their lunch room, and a couple office rooms on Wednesday nights for like our adult space because we just don't have the space anymore. And uh we use our upstairs, we call it our upstairs basement. It's another storage space. Like we have nowhere else to go. That's how many people and like kids, teens, like we have. So we're like to the point where we've been brainstorming, like, what do we do? Do we move youth group to another night? But then it's, you're asking families to come out on two different nights. And so it's, we're between a rock and a hard place. But I laughed as he was suggesting all these things. I'm like, yep, done. Yep, done. Yep, done. So, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, like so earlier this term, so basically our format is we keep all the kids together in one room in the old auditorium. It's a big auditorium and they're all in one room, but it was actually becoming really, really difficult to manage because they're from 5-year-olds to 12-year-olds, and some of the younger kids have so much energy, and the older kids think they're too cool for school and don't really want to be around the younger kids. And so it was all, and then light bulb moment. There were rooms in the church that weren't being used during the service by the adult church or by us. And so I basically decided, without actually just on a whim, to just split the kids up into their respective year levels. And the potential for growth is really like is possible because there isn't the chaotic noise that was happening in the room before, and with the kids being split up into their respective year levels, they're a lot more connected to each other as well. So yeah, light bulb moment.
Fantastic.
Were your buildings made for a church, or did you guys go into an existing building and make it into a church?
Our church, is it's it's made for church. We had an extension about 25 years ago, but it was only really done by one person, and so the facilities aren't that great. But that's all right. It's being remedied as well. But I was just really stoked that it's like, oh yes, there are all these rooms, finding all these rooms that we can just take over.
Ours,
Ours is
oh,
oh, go ahead.
nope, go ahead.
I would say ours has always been a church, but it actually there's like three buildings because there's like the old building where the church was and a new one built. So the old one's used for like Sunday schools, and then there's also a gym that's more newer. But I guess our church like years ago used to be really, really big, like a lot of people. And so like they had the whole first floor of like the new church was all kids stuff. And then splits happened, different things happened. And so the children's ministry got really, really small. And so adults started taking over Sunday school classes. And now I'm trying to get it all back because I've gotten two of the classrooms back. But it's been a process because they're like, well, where do we go now? I'm like, well, remember when this was all kids? Let's bring it back to that. Yeah.
Yeah, we were a sports volleyball place, and so this is a big box that they've added some walls and a worship center. So we have nowhere to go. So it's interesting. It's fun.
Wow.
In the time I've been with the same church for all the years, and we've had so many different plans. Like, every time I'm on my fifth pastor, every time we get a new pastor, then there's a new plan for how we're going to extend and whatever. But yeah, um, it doesn't ever really happen. So yeah, I'm like, when people speak about alterations, I'm like, don't speak to me, just show me.
I think this is a hard chapter at the level that I'm at. Being children's ministry, this is one of those chapters that it either has to be a senior leadership conversation, or just trying to focus on the areas that I get to focus on, the rooms that I'm in. Am I maintenance in my rooms, or am I in growth in the rooms I'm in? Because it's not up to me whether or not we build a new building or add more parking spaces or whatever, another service. And so I just had to look at it as in my rooms, am I in growth or maintenance?
Our church building was not a church before. It was so many different things in the past. A bowling alley, movie theater, Swedish house. So it's been many of things.
I like the 113. For me, it helped when he said, a good way to stretch yourself is to always stay more committed to the message rather than a particular method, ministry, or program. So if you have to change their method or ministry part of it, the program part of it to fit the space, then that's what we do.
Did somebody bring you your pop?
My mom did. She just picked up the kids to go get them Slurpees and a pop for me.
That's so sweet.
I love it.
You're loved.
Excited. Oh, that first sip is so good. And I also have very happy kids. So
Good. I had my daughter pick me up my iced coffee earlier when she went out.
I liked also in 116 when he kind of finishes this chapter when he says, so many times we're just more comfortable with old problems than with new solutions. Take some time to brainstorm with folks, to play good old games and see what if. See what in the world you can do to come up with some alternatives to facility growth.
I just love how positive he always is.
And if you know Jim, he's done it. Like the building, so the church that he's in now, you pull up and you're like, you're not at I'm at the wrong space because it's a small building. It is a very small building. And they're running thousands through that church. But they're just creative and they'll just do whatever it takes, you know. But you have to have a team that you can work with like that, so that's the cool part, is having those conversations. Are you, you know, dare to stretch, see what you can come up with, brainstorm with people, figure it out. Because what does Satan want us to do? Is say, no, we can't do that. There's not room.
Yep. Well, let's move on to chapter 9 here with our last about 17 minutes-ish. Chapter 9, communicating your structure. And I always feel like this seems to be the biggest issue. Well, I don't know. I didn't know. Well, I didn't know. And doesn't matter how many times. And I think we all shared the 5 different ways we have all shared communication, and yet people still don't know. But Jim talks about the importance of communication here, and the structure of it. And one of the things I highlighted here, was on page 122 toward the top. He says, folks just don't have your heart if you don't teach them the things that are in your heart. And I thought that was so important, about how it's more than just giving them information all the time. It's taking time to teach them what's in your heart and your passion. And I just really liked that. Because sometimes I'm like, oh, why don't they get it? You know, and I'm like, I got to take the time to teach them why I love these kids so much and why I want them to love the kids as much as I do and why I see they need Jesus as much as I do. So that was a really good reminder. And side note, it's funny, you see how much we've evolved technology wise from the time you wrote this book till now. Like no word of text messaging at all in this chapter. It was just the basics of email. So or not even mention of Facebook either that I've read through or noticed in this chapter. It was just email. So I just thought it was kind of funny because I think, what was it, 2011 when this book was wrote? Or
Yeah, 2011.
yeah. So I just chuckled. I'm like, man, look how far we've gone, even from 2011 till now. So, but still very applicable book. But he still mentions iPhone, iMac, technology he uses, but how much more
Now,
here our communication has come along.
I think like these days it's we've got more platforms to communicate on, but I think our people also have communication fatigue. So I find WhatsApp is really big here, but I get frustrated because the church parents don't read my WhatsApps. But then when I speak to some of them, they've got like 20 WhatsApp groups. So and they're pinging all the time. So then I can understand them not looking at my group. So I think we are struggling with communication fatigue as well. I like what he said. I don't know what page it is because my page is different, but he spoke about in a meeting there are 2 things every leader needs to do. They don't just present the information, they need to watch and they need to listen. Watch body language, watch how people are responding to what you're saying, listen to their questions, listen to what they're not saying.
mhm.
I find that really hard. Like my son and my husband are very good. My son's always saying to me, "Mom, read the room, read the room." But I'm just like, I don't know. I find it hard. And what people are not saying, it's like just tell me what you're saying, or tell me what you're not saying, but don't let me guess.
You might like to take the emotional IQ test then to see where that lands for you. That's an interesting thing to learn and to know about yourself. So that's
Do you think
good for
it's
you.
bad? Do
It's
you think it'll
well,
be bad?
it's good for you as a leader to recognize that though. That's, I mean, some of us are oblivious to what we don't know, you know. So that's good for you to recognize and say, "Oh, I need to work on that." Or find somebody in the room. Here's the thing, hire your weakness. Find someone in the room to read the room and talk to you later, you know.
Great idea. There, that'll be my first job to find somebody.
Yeah. How do you guys do feedback? Like how he talks about 124, like questionnaires. Do you do a lot of that with your families or volunteers?
I did for a period of time, especially when we were like moving into our new building and like when we were doing changing up our curriculum or thinking about changing up curriculum, I was asking parents what they thought about it. So I've done surveys a couple of times, to families and to volunteers, two different ones. Um, and I've gotten some like decent results. I do a survey for VBS every year for my volunteers. Um, but it's overall been good. I don't think I've ever gotten anything real bad or nasty. Um, but um, yeah, I appreciated the feedback to make sure we were spiritually at least going where families wanted us to go.
When I have like once a quarter, I have a 20-minute meeting with all the parents, and then I ask for feedback or any questions. Um, Sometimes I get feedback, but I don't. I think people, like with children always say Jesus for every question you ask them, they always
Mhm.
give you the Christian answer. I think sometimes in church settings like that, that's what parents do as well, because they don't want to be the one that puts their hand up and says, actually, what you're doing isn't working at all and it's terrible. Um, yeah, so it's actually easier to find out from other people what the parents are saying.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, we
after
don't
my,
really do. Oh,
sorry,
sorry,
go.
Lynette, you continue. No, you
After
go.
the party on Sunday, I got no feedback. But in fairness, I was cleaning up afterwards, so I was out of the room. And then one of my team who had been part of it said that the parents absolutely loved it, and they're asking when are we going to do it again, and it was such a good idea. So it's like, okay, maybe I need to ask my team what feedback they are getting, because they are, yeah, clearly the parents are speaking more to them than they are to me.
We don't have anything formal in place at the moment. It's quite a struggle actually in terms of um because our children's church isn't like huge at the moment, and the kids that we do have, um uh, I would say like most of them most of them are church kids. Half of them are kids of church leaders. And I always find that a bit tricky, especially, yeah, just some of the behavioral issues that come through. Um, and it's like, man, these kids of church leaders, they behave differently than kids of like other families. It's just, yeah. So and the other day I had like a parent who's also my friend telling me about how her child thinks that um she's outgrown children's church. She is, year 8, so it's 12 years old. So it's like next year she won't be here anymore because she's aged out. And I'm like, okay, so it's not like formal feedback, but it's in a casual setting. It's like reading, you know, reading between the lines, basically. It's like, okay, so that's something that I probably need to think about. It's like, how do we adjust the program so that older kids feel like um, it's of value to them as well?
I can't remember. How was your class combined, Selah?
So up until the start of this term, it was all together. Um, and so this particular child hasn't been coming for the last 4 weeks, and that's when we kind of decided to split so she hasn't really been around for the new structure.
Yeah, that age 12 is hard. That's like over here, they're usually in youth group by that age. So like where I'm at, like they wouldn't be in our class. And the way I structure mine when they're in fifth grade, which is like age 11-ish, they're still in kids ministry, but our fifth grade class meets on their own. That way they have their own cool little group um that they can have together. Um, that's how we structure our environment. Um, and they're called the bridge class. And that way we're bridging the gap between kids ministry and adult church too.
Mm.
So that age group also gets like deeper Bible questions and discussions, although learning the same content the younger classes do, they get deeper Bible questions and discussions in their class that they're able to have together that they wouldn't get if they were with fourth grade, third grade, and younger.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, that's what we need to do as well because we have stock standard questions, but I mean, yeah, we aim for the middle ground, but we're just, yeah, losing kids on either side. I suppose that's a danger. So more customization.
Learning as you go, adjust, stretch.
Thanks.
How often do you guys intentionally communicate your structure to your team, whether it's your few or your whole team?
I feel like my team knows the structure. If, yeah, like how everything works and who's where. I feel like they know it. But we're not a huge church. I probably have like if all the children came, it would be maybe 90 children. So we probably have about 50 or 60 every week, and I've probably got about 35 volunteers altogether. So it's not huge. I think if it was bigger than that, then you would need far more structure or more, because I get the feeling, I don't know, but I get the feeling that Jim works with huge teams. Yeah. So I can understand why. I think that's still a good idea to have everything on paper, and even if it's just to show your staff that you're working with and the senior pastor and that. But I feel that like the size that we're at, I can still do it verbally as well.
I feel like my team knows the structure for sure, and our overall mission and vision. But like what we do every year is we do change up our theme, but my theme is like the spiritual vision of the year too, which I change every year. And I would say that they probably, although it's literally on their t-shirts, like how we apply that to our year every year. I don't know if everyone would like 100% know that if asked point blank, like, hey, what's the SC Kids vision for this year? Like, I think I need to do better about, hey, remember, this is what we're doing. Here's the why, you know. So being better, more intentional about that. Any other thoughts, guys, in our last 3 minutes here?
I like how the very last sentence again, remember not to accomplish too much too fast. Asking God for wisdom to know how far, how fast, and how much is too much, and what's just the right amount. I think so many times, like, I can get ahead of the vision, and so just trying to slow down and remember there's a lot of people behind. One piece of advice I was given a long time ago, I think, Lynette, you just kind of made me spark this thought, was that you kind of always practice or put into place in policy of double your size. So if I'm comfortable right now with 40 volunteers, and he talks about this in this book, if volunteers were walking tomorrow, are you ready for them? Do I have the structures in place if I was given 20 more volunteers? Do I have the structure in place if I had 160 kids next week versus 90 kids next week? And that's where I'm like, ooh, I'm not there yet here, so that's where this book has been so good for me, is thinking through I'm comfortable here, but I'm not ready here yet, and getting those structures in place, and practicing. I mean, it's almost like you're practicing with your 30, so you're ready for 60.
I always feel like the books that we read, I need to go and reread them.
Uh-huh.
We finished it, but I need to start it. Now that I know what it's about, I need to start from the beginning again and reread it and then, yeah, make notes.
Yes. So there you go, Jody. We just made your job easier. We're just on a 2-year cycle. Every other year we go back to the same books we just read.
I know. I can't believe it's been 2 years already. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Over 2 years at this point, actually. So
Is it how long we've had this group for? 2 years?
it's been over 2 years, actually.
Mhm.
Yeah, because the way I first started is like I created a group for every book, and then so there's like three, I think we did 2 books that way. And then I just created a this group that I just changed constantly for every book.
I was trying to remember today, like when did I join? But I think it was more than a year ago. I know I wanted to join for ages, but then I just couldn't get my act together. But I think it's more than a year ago now. I can't remember.
Yeah, I
But
believe like one of our first books was like If Disney Ran Your Kids Ministry. And I think
I know
Yancy,
you
one of our books, first books.
and you did a Esther Moreno book that I wanted to read. In fact, I think I've got it, but I just couldn't. I think it was over our school holidays or something, so I just couldn't join.
Yeah,
So
we've read a lot. I have all the YouTube videos to prove it. So,
Yeah, I feel like Jim Weidman's books, you have to it's not a read once over, because they're teaching manuals. And so for this like stretch, I feel like I have to go back and I do have to read and reread because they're practical, there's wisdom in there. And I feel like this particular book will be really good to be reading alongside Proverbs as well. It's just like a combo.
So here's a challenge for us. So this is our last book club for the summer. So what would we get back together in the fall? Maybe we could have one buffer week to where it is, what have you done this summer with what we've read? Whether it's through stretch, whether it's through the emotionally healthy leader, like what have you digested? What can we share with each other? What can be an accountability, kind of, like we just said, like this, we since this is our last one and we're not jumping into another one, we have time to really get into stretch.
yeah, I like
that. I mean, in our flow time in the summer.
I like that.
But maybe, I don't know, that would be a good accountability to see what how, is it a structure you put in place? Is it the communication thing? Is it meetings? Is it I don't know.
That'll be
Learning
a good
about
challenge.
language.
Have we figured out what Sabbath really means? Have we?
Yeah. And I mean, never mind Kim Botto's book. That's also, I probably have to read that another 3 times.
Right? Oh my
Ah,
goodness. So much.
yeah.
So much. All right. Well, we're going to close for today. Next week, we meet up with Jim. As I posted on Tuesday, make sure you come with at least 3 questions. That is Jim's MO for him. So come with 3 questions, whether it's about his book or for him or about him or about his ministry. He is an open book. I love talking to Jim. He is fantastic and he's a really good guy to pick his brain. He is so full of knowledge. And as you can tell, he even showed us all those flow charts on the question on our page already from like a week or two ago. So I can't wait to talk to him next week. So make sure y'all come at 1:30, having read chapter 10 and 3 questions. Lynette, since you and I on screen, do you mind closing in prayer for us today?
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yes.
Father, thank you for this time that we've had together discussing this book. Thank you, Father, for the way that we've been able to challenge each other and just bring it different things and have lots of conversations around it, Father. I pray, Lord, that you'd help us to not just forget about the book now that it's done, but Lord, show us what we need to incorporate into our ministries. I pray, Father, that you be with each person over the summer, that you protect them and that you bless them, Father, and give them a good time of rest with their families and real intimate times with you. I just pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Bless you, ladies. I'm going to start my day.
Enjoy.
Enjoy, Sarah.
See you later.
All
Bye.
right. Have a good one, guys.
Bye.